My name is Arya Khan, and I live in a $3.2 million cliffside estate in Malibu, California. Most people don't know that. My family certainly doesn't. Because the night I got disinvited from Thanksgiving, I was standing on my balcony overlooking the Pacific Ocean, about to send my stepfather $1,205. I hit send, and 30 seconds later, I got this message. Thanksgiving dinner will be at the house this year. Close family only. Please don't come. We don't want to give Emma's future in-laws the wrong impression. Emma is my stepsister. Perfect hair, perfect life, perfect everything. And apparently, I was the wrong impression. So I did what any rational person would do. I flew everyone they ever rejected to my Malibu estate for Thanksgiving. Hosted a cinematic beach brunch, posted it online, and by dinner time, I had 42 missed calls. Let me rewind. I didn't grow up rich. I grew up tolerated. My mom died when I was 9. My dad remarried a year later. Richard Hale, a real estate developer in Chicago. He brought Emma into my life. She was 11, confident, charming, everything I wasn't. From that moment on, I became the awkward one, the quiet one, the one who didn't quite fit. Dinners were the worst. Emma sat next to Richard. I sat at the corner of the table, furthest from conversation. When extended family visited, I was introduced last, sometimes not at all. This is Emma, my daughter, and that's Arya. No one corrected him. I learned early that love in that house was conditional, and I didn't meet the conditions. But I did meet one expectation. I was useful. The first time Richard asked me for money, I was 23. Arya, I'm in a tight spot, he said over the phone. Cash flow issue. Just need $5,000 to cover a contractor payment. I'll pay you back next month. I was working at a tech startup, barely making rent, but I said yes. Because maybe this would change things. He never paid me back. The second time, it was $8,000. Emergency home repair. The third time, $15,000. Tax issue. Each time I told myself, this is what family does. They help. But family also says thank you. Family also invites you to dinner. I got neither. Instead, I got this. Can you cover Emma's engagement party deposit? We're short $3,000. Arya, Richard's car broke down. Can you wire $2,500? We need help with the mortgage this month. $10,000 would cover it. I gave and gave and gave, and they took. What Richard and Emma didn't know, what nobody knew, was that 3 years ago I sold my biotech data security startup for $9.8 million. Cash. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post about it. I didn't buy a flashy car or designer clothes. I bought a cliffside home in Malibu, furnished it simply, and kept working remotely as a consultant. Why? Because I wanted to see who would love me without knowing what I had. Turns out the answer was nobody. Richard and Emma assumed I was struggling. They saw my lack of logos, my secondhand furniture, my quiet life, and they pitied me. But they still asked for money, because even pity has a price. So there I was, November 15th, standing on my balcony staring at the ocean, about to send Richard another $12,500. He'd called earlier that week. Arya, I need help. Short-term loan. I'll pay you back after the holidays. Promise. I hesitated. But old habits die hard. I sent the money. And 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed. I expected, thank you. I got, Thanksgiving dinner will be at the house this year. Close family only. Please don't come. We don't want to give Emma's future in-laws the wrong impression. I read it 3 times. Then I walked inside, sat on my couch, and stared at the screen. The wrong impression. I wasn't invited because I was embarrassing. Because I didn't fit the image Richard wanted to project. Because Emma's fiancé came from money, and I, quiet, awkward Arya, didn't match the aesthetic. I called him. Richard. Oh, Arya, hey, did you get my message? I did. I also just sent you $12,500. Silence. Right, yeah, thank you for that. Listen, about Thanksgiving, you disinvited me. It's not personal, it's just Emma's future in-laws are very traditional, very image-conscious, and we want to make a good impression. And I ruined that impression. Arya, don't be dramatic. It's one dinner. How many dinners have I missed, Richard? He didn't answer. How many times have you called me because you needed money? And how many times have you called just to ask how I'm doing? That's not fair. You're right, it's not. I hung up. And then I made a decision. I opened my contacts, started scrolling. Aunt Nadia, Richard's sister. She'd struggled with depression after her divorce, and Richard cut her off because she was too much drama. I hadn't spoken to her in 5 years, but I remembered her kindness. I texted her, "Hi, Aunt Nadia, it's Aria. I know it's been a while, but I'm hosting Thanksgiving in Malibu this year, and I'd love for you to come. Flight and everything covered, no strings." She replied within minutes. "Aria, are you serious?" "Completely. I'll send details tomorrow." Next, the Lopez family, our old neighbors in Chicago. Richard had sued them over a property line dispute and lost, but the legal fees destroyed them. They'd moved to a smaller place, humiliated. I reached out. "Hi, Mrs. Lopez, this is Aria Khan. I don't know if you remember me, but I'd love to invite you and your family to Thanksgiving, Malibu, all expenses paid. I know it's last minute, but I'd be honored if you came." Her response came an hour later. "Aria, sweetheart, of course we remember you. We'd love to come." I kept going. Richard's former business partner, who he'd thrown under the bus during a deal. Emma's high school friend, who she'd ghosted after she wasn't cool enough. My college roommate, who Richard once called low class. One by one, I invited the people they'd rejected, the people they'd deemed unworthy. By the end of the night, I had 15 confirmed guests, and I was just getting started. Thanksgiving morning, my house was alive. Aunt Nadia arrived first, tears in her eyes when she saw the view. "Aria, this is yours?" "It is. How?" "Long story. Come inside." The Lopez family came next. 3 generations, all dressed up, all smiling. By noon, my home was full. Laughter echoed off the walls. A private chef prepared a beachside brunch. A live acoustic guitarist played by the water, and I hired a professional film crew. Just for memories, I told everyone. But I had other plans. We ate on the terrace overlooking the ocean. The sun was perfect. The food was perfect. The people were perfect. Aunt Nadia told stories about my mom, stories I'd never heard. Mrs. Lopez's grandson built sandcastles on the beach. Richard's old business partner raised a toast. To Aria for reminding us what generosity actually looks like. Everyone cheered. I smiled. But inside I was calculating, because this wasn't just Thanksgiving. This was a message. That evening, I reviewed the footage with the videographer. "Can you make it cinematic?" I asked. "Warm, elegant, something that feels aspirational." He grinned. "I can do that." 2 hours later, he sent me a 1-minute edit. It was beautiful. Slow motion shots of people laughing, the sunset over the Pacific, Aunt Nadia hugging me, the Lopez kids running on the beach, the table full of joy and warmth, the kind of content that makes people ache with longing. I uploaded it to Instagram. The caption was simple. "Grateful for the people who never asked me to shrink. Hope the $2,500 helps keep the heaters on back in Chicago." I hit post, and then I turned off my phone. I didn't check my phone for 3 hours. When I finally did, I had 42 missed calls, 12 from Richard, 18 from Emma, 7 from my stepmother, 5 from numbers I didn't recognize, probably Emma's fiancé's family. There were also 147 text messages. I scrolled through them. Richard. "Aria, what the hell is this?" Richard. "Take that post down, now." Richard. "You're making us look bad." Emma. "Are you kidding me right now?" Emma. "Derek's parents saw your post. They're asking questions." Emma. "You're so petty. This is pathetic." Stepmother. "Aria, this is cruel. You know how important this week is for Emma." Unknown number. "Hi, this is Carol Sterling, Derek's mother. I'd love to chat with you about your Thanksgiving post. Can we set up a call?" I smiled. The post had 14,000 likes. Comments poured in. "This is what Thanksgiving should look like." "Wait, is this your house?" The heaters on in Chicago line is lethal. Who hurt you, sis? Because you just ended them. I didn't respond to any of the calls or texts. Instead, I poured myself a glass of wine and watched the sunset. The next morning, my gate intercom buzzed. I checked the camera. Richard and Emma, standing outside in a rented SUV, looking exhausted and furious. I pressed the intercom button. "Can I help you?" "Arya, open the gate," Richard said, his voice tight. "Why?" "We need to talk. Now." I paused. Then I buzzed them in. They parked in my circular driveway, got out, and stared at the house like they'd been slapped. "This is yours?" Emma said, her voice hollow. "It is." "How?" I crossed my arms. "I worked. I built something. I sold it. You know, things you assume I'm incapable of." Richard stepped forward. "Arya, that post was completely out of line." "Was it? You humiliated us. Derek's family is asking questions. Emma's wedding is in jeopardy because of you." "Because of me? Or because you lied about who you are?" "We didn't lie. You excluded me from Thanksgiving because I was the wrong impression. You took my money and treated me like a burden, and now you're mad because I stopped pretending it didn't hurt?" Emma's face twisted. "You're so dramatic. We were trying to protect you." "Protect me?" "Yes. You don't understand how these people think. Derek's family is elite. They have standards. We didn't want you to feel uncomfortable." I laughed. "You disinvited me to protect me?" "Yes." "That's fascinating, because it felt a lot like you were protecting yourselves." Richard pulled a folder from his jacket. "We didn't want to do this, but you've left us no choice." He handed it to me. I opened it. It was an old financial agreement, something I'd signed when I was 18, right before college. Richard had framed it as a family trust document, a formality to help with financial aid paperwork. I hadn't read it carefully, but now, looking at it again, I saw the clause. Any assets or income earned by Arya Khan while residing under the guardianship of Richard Hale are considered joint family property and subject to redistribution as determined by the primary guardian. Emma smiled. "You signed it? That house? That money? Legally, it belongs to the family." I stared at the paper. Then I looked up at them, and I smiled. "You're right," I said calmly. "I did sign this." Richard exhaled. "Good. So we can—" "But I was 18, and I signed under false pretenses. Any lawyer would tear this apart in about 15 minutes. His face fell. "But here's the thing," I continued. "I'm not interested in a legal battle. I'm interested in clarity." "What does that mean?" Emma asked. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. I turned the screen toward them. "That $12,500 I sent you last week, it wasn't a gift." Richard frowned. "What?" "I used it to purchase the distressed mortgage debt on your Chicago home." Silence. "You've been in default for 4 months," I continued. "The bank wanted the loan off their books, so I bought it, for pennies on the dollar." Richard's face went white. You can't." "I can, and I did. Which means I'm not your stepdaughter anymore, Richard." I smiled. "I'm your lender." Emma's voice was a whisper. "You're bluffing." I pulled up the foreclosure notice on my phone, dated today. "Effective immediately. I'm calling the loan. You have 30 days to pay the full balance, $487,000, or the house goes to auction." Richard staggered backward. "Arya, you can't do this." "I just did." "We'll fight this. You'll lose, and you'll lose publicly, because unlike you, I have lawyers who actually read contracts." Emma's voice cracked. "Why are you doing this?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. "Because you taught me that family is conditional, that love has a price, that I'm only valuable when I'm useful." I stepped closer. "So I'm done being useful." Emma's hands were shaking. "You're insane." "No," I said. "I'm finally sane." Richard tried one more time. "Arya, please, we can work this out. We're family." You're not my family. You're people who used me, and now you're upset because I stopped letting you. I walked to the front door and opened it. Security will escort you off the property. Don't come back. Two men in black suits appeared from the side of the house. Private security I'd hired after the post went live. I knew they'd come. I knew they'd try to intimidate me, but I was done being intimidated. Richard opened his mouth to argue, but one of the guards stepped forward. Sir, ma'am, it's time to leave. Emma looked at me one last time. You're going to regret this. No, I said. I'm going to sleep well for the first time in years. They left. I watched their SUV disappear down the driveway, past the gate, onto the Pacific Coast Highway, and then I closed the door. The next few days were chaos. Richard's lawyer called. I didn't answer. Emma left voicemails, some angry, some pleading, some threatening. I deleted them all. My stepmother sent an email. Aria, I don't know what's gotten into you, but this behavior is unacceptable. You're tearing this family apart. I replied with one sentence. You tore it apart a long time ago. I just stopped pretending it was whole. Then I blocked her. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Aunt Nadia. Aria, you need to hear this. What? Emma's wedding is off. I froze. What? Derek's family pulled out. Apparently, they did some digging after your post. Found out about Richard's financial issues, the mortgage default, the lawsuits. They didn't want their son marrying into that. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt tired. How's Emma? Not great. She's blaming you, obviously. Of course she is. But Aria, between you and me, she had this coming. They both did. I didn't respond. You did the right thing, Nadia continued. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you did. Thanks, Aunt Nadia. Anytime, sweetheart. And hey, thank you for Thanksgiving. It meant more than you know. I smiled. It meant a lot to me, too. That night, I opened the family group chat. It had been silent since Thanksgiving. No one had said a word after my post. I scrolled through the history. Years of messages. Can someone pick up milk? Aria, can you send $500 for the electric bill? Emma got promoted. So proud. Aria, we need help with the car payment. Over and over. Need, never. How are you? Never. We're proud of you. Never. We love you. I typed one message. I'm leaving this chat. Don't contact me again. I wish you all the best. Then I hit send, and I left. 30 days later, Richard didn't pay. The house went to auction. I didn't bid on it. I didn't want it. I just wanted him to understand what it felt like to lose something you thought was yours forever. A young family bought it. A couple with 2 kids. I saw the listing photos online. They looked happy. I was glad. Months passed. I stopped checking my phone for messages from them. I stopped wondering if they'd apologize. I stopped hoping they'd change, because I realized something. You can't make people love you. You can't force them to see your value. You can't repair a relationship they never wanted in the first place. All you can do is walk away and rebuild. One afternoon, I was sitting on my balcony, same spot where I'd sent that $1,200, when my phone buzzed. It was Mrs. Lopez. Hi, Aria. My grandson keeps asking when we can visit you again. Any chance we could come by next month? I smiled. Absolutely. I'd love that. That's when I realized I didn't lose a family, I built a better one. People ask me sometimes if I regret it, if I regret buying the mortgage, if I regret shutting them out, and I always say the same thing. I regret staying as long as I did, because for years I believed that love was something you earned, that if I just gave enough, sacrificed enough, shrank enough, they'd finally see me. But love doesn't work that way. Real love doesn't ask you to disappear. It doesn't measure your worth by what you can provide. It doesn't exclude you from the table and then ask you to pay for the meal. Real love shows up. It sees you. It chooses you. And the people at my Thanksgiving table, they chose me. Not because I had money, not because I could do something for them, but because I was enough, just as I was. I'm still in Malibu, still in my cliffside home, still waking up to the sound of the ocean. I don't post much on social media anymore. I don't need the validation. But every Thanksgiving, I host a dinner, and every year, the guest list grows. Aunt Nadia, the Lopez family, old friends, new friends, people who were told they weren't enough, and believed it until someone told them otherwise. We eat, we laugh, we toast to second chances and chosen family. And every year, I think about that text. Please don't come. We don't want to give Emma's future in-laws the wrong impression. And I smile, because they were right. I was the wrong impression. I was the impression of someone who wouldn't tolerate being erased. And I'm proud of that. My name is Arya Khan. I'm 31 years old. I live in a $3.2 million home in Malibu. I got disinvited from Thanksgiving, so I flew everyone they rejected to my estate, posted it online, and watched their world collapse. I bought my stepfather's mortgage and foreclosed on his house. I walked away from a family that never wanted me, and I built a life they'll never understand. Some people call it petty. I call it freedom. And I'd do it all over again, because the best revenge isn't cruelty, it's living well, and I'm living very well.